Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady, and joining me today is the Superintendent of Ankeny Community School District, Dr. Erick Pruitt. Dr. Pruitt, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite. I'm glad to be here.
Obviously, we're going to talk about everything going on in the Ankeny Community School District, but before we get started, thank you so much to everyone listening. My word, the support is absolutely incredible. If you believe in what we're doing here on the Iowa Podcast, make sure to share the show with a friend. But most importantly, make sure to give this show 5 stars in your podcast platform. So, Dr. Pruitt, you're the new guy in Ankeny coming from Chicago, and I should also say an ex-Marine, so thank you so much for your service. But,
I got to correct you on 2 things.
Ooh, okay, go for it.
No such thing as an ex-Marine. So I am a Marine.
That's right. How could I forget?
So, and then I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to use the moniker new guy. I'm in my second year. So, I was told that I had to stop using that June 30th.
Oh, there's a cutoff date for that. All right.
Yeah, I guess.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. We're really happy you're in Central Iowa, and we stole you from Chicago, so we're really happy about that. Is the Ankeny Community School District very much like the Chicago School District, or are they different?
So, educationally, very similar. But just as far as environment, culture, climate, it's different. And so Ankeny is a much smaller city. The district is much smaller than Chicago, obviously.
Right, yeah.
However, many of the challenges that present themselves educationally in the district are what I've experienced in both Chicago and in Houston. Interesting.
That's fascinating. So I want to get into maybe if we have time, some of those differences, but some of the things that are the same as well. But first things first, I know last year was difficult for many school districts across the state. We saw some alarming enrollment drops. So how's Ankeny comparing as a school district with the rest of the state?
Although our enrollment during the initial pandemic did decrease, our enrollment is still strong going into this year. We're anticipating that we'll be at around 12,700 students this year as of October 1st, and that is reestablishing our trend that we've had for the past 15 years of growing at least by 250 students every year in the district.
Got it. So you're still very much on pace. Is that 12,700? Obviously, during COVID, that was a kind of a bizarre time, so enrollment did decrease. But in 2019, going back to 2019, are your numbers still on that upward trend, or have you flatlined a little bit? What's that look like?
We flatlined a little bit in 2019, but we began to recover last year, and we anticipate that we'll continue the upward trend moving forward. In fact, we actually broke ground on elementary number 12 this past spring, and we'll be opening that school in 2024.
Wow, that's incredible! Congratulations, that's a big deal. So, what are some of the things that you think are the same in the Ankeny School District and what you saw at Chicago? I think a lot of people might be a little surprised to hear that. So, what are some of those trends that you're seeing? What are some of the things that the school districts share?
So the commonalities that I've seen over the past year and a half have been we have a community that is fully vested in their children and in the school district, and they want to see their children do very well. That's a commonality across both districts, actually all 3 districts that I've worked in over the past 25 years. I've also seen a commitment in staff, both teachers and our administrators, who really care about their students and their families and the reputation of the district. Although demographically, Ankeny is very different from Chicago, we still do have diversity within our community. Not all of our students are the same, and so I think that Ankeny has done a very good job of serving the needs of those students who are doing really well academically, in addition to those that may be struggling a little bit. And so I've seen some of those same things in Chicago with regards to, how do we uniquely support those students that are doing really well, in addition to serving those students that are in the need additional support, but then also those students that just may need a little push. And then obviously, with regards to how we support our students with IEPs, that's been a real big challenge in Chicago with regards to how we serve our students with special education needs at a high level. The same occurs here in Ankeny. There's a commitment to providing high quality services to our students and figuring out a way to ensure that they're getting the support that they need from pre-K through graduation.
Yeah, and just to clarify, IEP, for those that don't know, individualized education programs. And that's basically looking at individual students and making sure they have the education they need given their particular abilities or challenges. Is that a fair assessment?
It is. It
Okay.
is. So it's either needs academically or a disability academically with regards to a specific content area, or a disability with a physical disability that they may have that may require additional support from the district and personnel.
Yeah, that's really, that's extremely challenging. My wife's in public education, and it's very, very challenging because it takes so much assessment of individual students, and it takes matching them with the right help to get their, to meet their individualized education requirements. And hats off to our public educators for that constant balancing act. It's extremely difficult.
No, absolutely. The amount of planning that's required for our special education teachers, in addition to our associates, around how our teachers co-teach, how they coordinate services with our associates to ensure that all of our students are learning and getting the best service possible. It's really hard work, but we have a really good team here in Ankeny who's doing a fabulous job of supporting our students with IEPs.
Yeah, so Ankeny has been rapidly growing. This isn't a surprise to you at all. It's the 2022 growth rate so far is over 3%, and the growth rate since 2020 was almost at 7%, which is nutty kind of growth. And so you guys are growing at a rapid rate. Obviously, the district has to grow at a rapid rate to accommodate that growth as well. So I wanted to ask you about the Iowa Senate passing Senate File 2369 earlier this year. So for those that don't know, you're obviously aware of this, but for Iowans listening to this that aren't aware, that was the voucher system funded by tax money. So, of course, there are advocates and opponents of this bill, like there always are. So the advocates are the money should follow the kids, and the opponents are it's a funding mechanism for private schools. And so do you see this as a threat to public education in the Ankeny School District, or do you see this as a healthy dose of competition? What are your thoughts on that?
So I've never shied away from competition. And so what I'll tell you and what I've told people who have asked, I'm a big believer in public education. It served me well. It served my family well. And over the past 25 years, I've been supporting students and families in public education. The only thing that I would want with regards to this competition is that, when families who have the right to, choose what school their children go to, is that our public schools are funded adequately once they leave and if they come back. And so on-time funding is very important to public education. And so when students leave, sometimes they come back, and we want to make sure that those public schools get the funding to adequately support those students that actually come back into our school district.
Now, that's an interesting thought. I hadn't heard that before. You mentioned, is there some kind of delay where if a student goes to another school, it's a private school, or and then they come back to the Ankeny School District, the money doesn't necessarily follow them right away?
My understanding of that is that it does not follow that family, that student right away. And so I think those are the areas that I'm still learning about, but also that need to be cleared up with regards to ensuring that, as Ankeny grows, and if we have families that choose to use that voucher, and then if they choose to come back, that the money actually follows them back to Ankeny Community School District.
That's interesting. So, okay, now tell me if this is a fair assessment, but what I'm hearing is that you have no problem at all with competition. You just want to make sure you get the benefit of the funding when you out-compete other educators.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
I think competition is great. It's going to make us better. Ankeny is already a good district. We are working to be the best district in Iowa. And so I think that as we prove that we are the best district in Iowa academically, we have the best administrators, teachers in the state, families will want to come to our district. And we want to make sure that those tax dollars follow those families who choose to come back to our district.
Yeah, I think that's a really reasonable way to put that, right? Like, you have no fear about competition at all, bring it on. But at the same time, let's make sure this is an even playing field. So when students do decide to come back to the Ankeny School District, that funding follows. I really like that view.
Right.
That bill also included provisions to obtain parents' consent regarding materials in the school curriculum and library. And again, like everything else, there's controversy. It seems like you walk down the street and say hello, there seems to be controversy these days. So, but from a educator standpoint, as the new superintendent, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Do you have a more nuanced view on it?
So I think an involved community is helpful to a school district. And I think it's very important for our district to be transparent. But I think what our community realizes is that we have professionals that have gone to school to support students at a high level that are committed to providing the best service possible. And so I think there's a level of trust that we are requesting, but we also have to earn as we work with students. But then also we also have to be transparent and make sure our parents are aware of what we're teaching and why it's important to their students from pre-K through 12th grade.
Yeah, because I obviously know of many teachers in many school districts, right? And they have varying political and varying religious views. And so whenever I have a discussion with someone about this is usually what I bring up to consider all sides of this debate, which is, all right, you have particular views, you have particular books you want to see in the library, but I do know teachers who have very differing views on you. Do you want them to be able to also put books in the library? So is there a balance then about getting parental consent in your view and educator consent? How do you see that process playing out in the Ankeny Community School District?
I think the balance is that we use the standards to guide us. And so regardless of my political views, my stance on issues, I have to be guided by what the state is telling us that they want us to teach kids. And so based off that's how we're making our professional decisions about what resources are being put into the classroom, into our libraries. And again, being very transparent with our parents. And then here in Ankeny, we do have a process by which parents are able to raise concerns about materials that may be being used in a classroom or in our libraries, where it could be reviewed and then potentially removed from a classroom or library.
And can you go into that process a little bit? And is that published anywhere? Because I'm sure a lot of Ankeny parents and probably other schools around the state that want to copy your model might be interested in that.
So that process we actually presented it at a board meeting, and it is available on our website for parents to review.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So it's on the website, and you can find it there, and it's all outlined.
Yes. Got
it. All right. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is, obviously coming off COVID, that's when you were hired. You came right in the thick of it, which
Right.
which is a really fun time to get a new job. So congratulations on getting through that already.
Yeah, you have a different perspective about fun.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things, there was an NEA poll, the National Educator Association. I think I got that acronym right. And over half of U.S. teachers right now, because again, you came in at a challenging time. You understand this more than anybody. But over half of teachers in the U.S. right now are planning on leaving the profession. Like 90% of them say they're totally burned out. Are you seeing this in ACSD, and why or why not?
So I think that prior to me arriving, it was probably more prevalent. However, I think going into this year, we only, to start the school year, we only had 4.5 vacant positions for our entire district. And that's amazing for a district of this size going into a new school year. And so the teachers and I'll say the staff that were burnt out, we were asking them to do a lot in different ways in a short amount of time. And so I think that here in Ankeny, we've done a really good job of working to maintain really good relationships with our teachers and our support staff. And figuring out ways to understand how they're feeling and what we can do better to make this a really good working environment move forward. And so what we went through from 2019 up until I came in last year, it hasn't hurt our numbers with regards to student teachers wanting to come and student teach here. Our recruiting efforts. We were able to bring in new administrators from across the state, which I'm very proud of. And so Ankeny, although we were impacted by COVID and the issues that teachers and our staff were going through, I think we've done a really good job of figuring out how to be a little bit more innovative around attracting staff to our district and figuring out how to retain them here within our district.
Yeah, and I want to go into that here in a bit because I'm sure educators around the state would want to know how you're doing that, right? But what, like overall, just in general, what do you think? I could make guesses. I think I'm sure those guesses would probably be way off. But what do you think is driving at least the national trend of burnout? And are there specific things you've identified to make sure that problem doesn't come into the Ankeny School District?
So I don't think there's anything that we can prevent from coming into the district. And so one of the things that I've focused on, focused on over the past year has been, how do we reestablish the chain of command as far as how do we help reinforce the leadership of our teachers in the classroom, reinforce the leadership of our principals, and ensure that, if our parents or students are experiencing challenges, that they go to the lowest level possible where that challenge is being experienced to resolve it versus elevating it up to my level or the board level. And of course, we can support, but I think that an establishment of the chain of command within the school district is really important with regards to reinforcing my trust in our teachers and our school leaders to solve those problems that are happening at the local level before they get to me or our school board.
Yeah, so what you're basically talking about is empowering teachers to make those decisions in real time rather than having everything filter up to you, one person, to handle everyone in the city's problems. Are there any specific strategies you'll put in place to do that? You mentioned trusting teachers, which is obviously a huge step, but are there any specific strategies you will put in place to make sure teachers are empowered to handle those issues right away?
So one of the things that we've done with our teachers union here and our associates union is we've established a communication protocol. So we've established, when those unions have issues at the local level or at the district level, there are specific people that they go to ensure that, one, we're not going to multiple people within central office or at the school level, and they're getting their specific problem handled. Another strategy that we implemented this year, prior to this year, only one person was supervising all principals. This year, we have an executive director of elementary schools and an executive director of secondary schools who are the primary supervisor and coach for our principals. That allow us to have a more consistent chain of command with regards to if something is happening in the classroom. Parents know to go to the teacher. If it's not resolved, they go to the principal, and then from the principal goes to that executive director level to help solve problems. And so it's been a mixture of reinforcing leadership from the classroom up through central office, but then also ensuring that we have clear communication protocols, not only for our parents, but then also for our community if they want to voice challenges that they may be having at a school or with our district.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency is a big thing, right? That's a huge asset. I know that one of the big trends from the teachers I speak with in this era, and it's not your school district, it's not school districts in Iowa, it's just nationwide, is there used to be the idea that if a student was misbehaving or out of line, it wasn't the parents' fault. The parents would bring it wasn't the teacher's fault. The teacher was discussed with the parents and they'd say, hey, student, you need to get in line. You need to learn. That's why you're here. And I know that some teachers have said this has shifted to if the student's acting out or doing poor in school, the pressure goes on the teacher. Hey, teacher, why are you screwing up? So under this new plan, under this new strategy, and this chain of command thing, which I really like, it kind of borrowing a turn from your Marine background, are teachers empowered to do disciplinary action to make those calls, and will they be backed up by the principals, by the directors, and by yourself?
And so our first line of defense, if you will, is how a teacher establishes their classroom and establishes those relationships with students in their classroom. So classroom management plays a huge role with regards to how a teacher is able to interact and support students who may not be displaying the best behavior in their class. And also requires a lot of trust from me down to our principals and to our teachers with regards to what those classroom management strategies are. But then also, if we move up, how our principals support teachers who may have students who are displaying behaviors that are unwanted. And so I believe it does start with the teacher, but then also is supported by the principal and those expectations that are set for the entire school. But then also we go up another level. To me, moving into this year, we created a document called the Continuum of Student Behavior. And so we recognize that coming out of COVID, coming out of the pandemic, we did have students that had not been in school, that were displaying behaviors that our district had not experienced previously. And so we wanted to make sure that not only our principals, but then also our teachers were armed with, what should our reactions be? What should the discipline be based off of a student's behavior? And so this continuum allows us to issue discipline that's grade level appropriate and offense appropriate based off of the misbehavior. And so we're just 2 months into the implementation of the continuum. But again, it empowers the teacher, but then also empowers the school leader to ensure that they're supporting teachers with their classroom management plan, but then also they're reinforcing that continuum of student behavior that we have an expectation for all students to behave a certain way here in Ankeny.
Yeah, so it's not like teachers don't need to decide this stuff on the fly. You're deciding this together, and like you said earlier, making communication very clear and deciding what those standards are. And if those standards are not followed, there's a very clear line, and the teachers already know how to discipline. They already know what the results are.
Right.
Yeah, that's solid.
And this is what the teachers here in Ankeny are really good at. They've done a really good job of establishing very good relationships, not only with students but with their parents. I continue to be impressed by the number of touch points our teachers and our school leaders have with families, either through digitally, through email, or through meetings at the schools. But there are many opportunities for parents to engage with parents and to partner. And this idea of discipline and teachers are solely responsible. I'm reminded of a conversation that I've had with a director when I first started. He really reinforced this idea of Ankeny Community School District, the word community. And so in order for us to do a really good job of supporting students, we have to, especially when we look at it from a behavior standpoint, we have to approach it from a community standpoint. One behavior isn't the same from student to student. And so we have to partner with our parents. We have to partner with one another to ensure that we're providing the best support to our students that are displaying unwanted behaviors.
Now, I want to move on to the strategic plan that you spent a lot of time on, but real quickly, you mentioned behaviors you hadn't experienced. What does that look like? What were those behaviors that the Ankeny School District hadn't experienced, and were those brought on by the whole mix-up with COVID?
So I think the behaviors that we hadn't experienced was we had very young students that had never been in school from pre-K through kindergarten. And then once school opened back up, they were back in school and they had missed those socializing experiences that you normally get when you start a new school year with a teacher. And so a lot of the routines and behaviors that are initially taught at the beginning of the school year, we had to reteach those to those students, how to deal with conflict. And so again, we had students that were again not in school, not able to socialize with their peers, and learning or relearning how to interact with one another, how to deal with conflict. How to settle conflict are issues that we had to reteach and help our students acclimate to this their new environment.
Wow, that's a really good point. So like I said, you guys launched this strategic plan, released this strategic plan in May. And like we were talking about earlier, this is from feedback based on, I think the report said roughly 100 parents and 100 staff members of the Ankeny Community School District. So you have a couple pillars in there, but the first big question is, with our remaining few minutes, was there anything that surprised you that came out of that process of listening to teachers and parents?
I don't think there were really any big surprises. Our parents really want high quality instruction. They want their students to be successful. And this might be a surprise just because everything in education runs in cycles. There's a huge belief that we need to focus more on skill trades. So
interesting.
This idea of post-secondary readiness, not only does it mean preparing our students to pursue those 4-year or 2-year degrees, but what are we doing to support students who want to be in the skill trades, want to go straight into the workforce, or want to go straight into the military? And so I think that we have to do our due diligence moving forward with regards to ensuring that post-secondary readiness doesn't begin just in high school. We have to look at it from a standpoint of how do we backwards map post-secondary readiness from again pre-K through 12th grade, and where do we begin to have more concrete conversations with our students so that they can have those conversations around career options with their parents that allow them to select courses that are going to meet the goals that they have by the time that they graduate.
Yeah, that's key. That is so key, because I think so many times, at least historically, we went through a system where we were pushing everybody to college. If you go to college, that's the metric of success. If you don't, that's not successful. And of course, we all know that put us in a position we're in now, which is not a great position, with a lot of students loaded down with debt. And it comes back to exactly what you said, defining that goal for the student, or with the student, I should say, first, and determining, like, do they want to go in the skilled trades? Do they want to go into the military and follow the path of someone like yourself, right? There are different paths. I wish I had more time to talk about the strategic plan. So what I will do is one of those pillars or aspects of the plan is focusing on maintaining a system of talented people. Like I said earlier, do you want to get a little plug in there if you're hiring teachers, and do you want to do a little plug for the Ankeny Community School District with our last couple seconds?
Absolutely. So for those experienced educators that want to come to an innovative district where you'll be able to be supported, learn a lot, and grow, Ankeny is the place for you. For those students that may still be in school, if you want to come and learn and work with a talented team and grow in your profession, Ankeny is the place for you.
And what website can they reach out to find you, more information about the school district and what's happening in the Ankeny area?
They can go to ankenyschools.org.
Dr. Erick Pruitt, Superintendent of Ankeny Community School District, I should say the Ankeny Community School District. Thank you so much for coming on the Iowa Podcast. I truly appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa Podcast.